We wanted to start showing America the other face of Syria, the beautiful face of Syria.
My first engineering job out of college was working on smart bombs and missiles, and I felt bad about essentially making technology that was designed to harm and kill people.
I don't allow certain words to be a part of my vocabulary anymore, and those are simply the words I can't.
والله الطقس شوفت عليك صلاح شتت كثير يعني الصراحة وتأذينا يعني حتى تدفئة ما عندنا يعني ما عندنا إمكانية تنجيب مازوت نتدفى يعني الحياة والله خايفين من البرد إنه يمرضوا وما حيلتنا شيء يعني ما في شيء هو خوف من المرض ومن الشتاء وما في شيء من الدفى يعني الصراحة.
The living conditions we know are getting worse. More Syrian refugees are living in poverty. And this is, of course, exacerbated at winter when refugees have additional costs and additional challenges. It's harder for them to stay warm. It's harder for them to stay dry. It can be harder for them to find work because, of course, much of the work for refugees is seasonal.
كسر السباحيات من فوق كسر الخشب من فوق قام يخر علينا مي فوق الخيمة وطلعنا برات الخيمة رحنا لعند عمامي
برد وثلج ومطر وما عندي لا مصاري اشتري حطب لا عندي مصاري اشتري مازوت الشتوية ما جتنا ويساعدني بناتي يساعدني بناتي هيك يساعدني يمسحنا المية ما عندي حدا ما عندي غير عونة الله.
Last year, UNHCR in Lebanon received 60 cents on the dollar of what it actually needed to provide help on the ground. So 60 cents on the dollar is not enough to enable us to meet the very substantial and, as I said, growing needs on the ground.
هو تركهم طبعا تاركهم هو واقف معهم مساعدهم هو يعني لأنه في ناس ما لغيناهم بعد أنا زوجتي وبنتي بعد اليوم اثنين. لغينا يعني شيء ضل منهم يعني ما نقول يعني شيء صعب كمان وضعها صعب يعني فوق مصيبة يعني ما سهل لغوها يعني تعرف يعني عانت كثير كمان هي البنت.
The war in Syria affected us really in the heart. So we felt that we are losing the country, we're losing people, we're losing history, we're losing the heritage. We felt there is a responsibility that we should have is by at least protecting a part of it, the human part and the culture part. We wanted to start showing America the other face of Syria, the beautiful face of Syria, something they don't see in the news.
Artisans work in the tourism industry mainly, and with lack of tourism, there's no prospects for making the living. And that was one of the main drive for people fleeing the country, besides being attacked by the war itself. This narrow street of building mainly built from stone around you resembles very much our hometown in Syria. It's called Sueda. And the great sense of community in this area, very inclusive people, made us feel that this could be our home.
When I think of Syria today, I think of it as like a war-torn country. But when I come to a place like this and I get to see all the beautiful cultural, like the cultural aspect of it, it's really cool.
All of our recipes are homemade and Syrian recipes, very authentic way. And our workers in the kitchen are Syrian refugees women, and I try to train them to work in the business environment here.
Welcome to Syriana.
I love the rich ingredients. I love having authentic cuisine, and the artwork, the craftsmanship is beautiful.
Our goal is to expand our social mission to have wider social impact by sponsoring more workshops back home, employing more people, employing more refugees here. Gallery captures the main heritage industries of Syria, ranging from exotic mosaic work to mother-of-pearl inlays, damask textiles, and brocade silk. They are all deeply rooted in our culture, and they present generations of master craftsmen. Syria is not just a war-torn country. It's a beautiful culture with a lot of things to offer.
DAS Systems does air-to-ground shipping, so essentially we make packages you can launch from an airplane and have it land within a few feet on the ground. My first engineering job out of college was working on smart bombs and missiles, and I felt bad about essentially making technology that was designed to harm and kill people. So I wondered what else could I do with the technology of a smart bomb, something that can launch from an airplane and land within inches. And I thought, why can't I use that same technology to deliver packages and goods? So many times we found that during times of crisis or humanitarian need, it's very, very difficult to get supplies into remote regions. Food, water filtration, medicine, batteries for radios, the basic things you need after disaster like a hurricane. You can always fly an airplane overhead, so we help bridge that gap. DAS Systems does air-to-ground shipping, so essentially we make packages you can launch from an airplane and have it land within a few feet on the ground. We offer delivery services just like FedEx or DHL. Our big difference is we take on and win contracts that they just refuse to service because they think they're not profitable or they're not successful. So for instance, a delivery in South Sudan or Puerto Rico, oftentimes every traditional carrier will say no. Organizations are willing to pay the fair market value for those trips. They just do not have a solution. It's an unmanned UAV. It's basically a UAV glider.
So there are a variety of parachute type systems where you can drop things out of airplanes. We're hoping to improve that whole operation, both with deploying it at the right time and then guiding the package to where it needs to be more accurate than anything currently on the market.
So we can land in something as small as a parking space, which lets us land in, say, the courtyard of a hospital. There is a guidance system in the tail, and the guidance system uses GPS, and much like any glider or airplane, it will soar to its destination using GPS. Essentially, the body is all low-cost recyclable material like styrofoam, plywood, plastic, and what that lets us do is have a cost-effective vehicle you can launch out of airplane and essentially not have to worry about recovery or trying to get it back to its home base.
Kids love to come up and hug it.
They open the door, it's always a wow. What's new and really exciting is our new relay robots, Priscilla and Elvis. When we get busy, we'll ramp up and we'll have 8, 9, 10 deliveries at once. And actually our attendants who make those deliveries will turn around and tell the front desk, why don't you have Elvis make a couple of these for us? Most commonly it's toothbrush, toothpaste, towels, newspapers, but they'll also deliver food and beverage in the evenings, especially between midnight and 6 a.m. when your staff is minimal.
And so you hire the robot on for a monthly basis. In a typical hotel, it might be $2,000 a month, something like that. It'll make beeps and whistles to kind of indicate what it's doing, and then on its screen it tells you what it's doing, and that's how you interact with it. We drive it around and tell it that you're mapping now, and it builds its own map. Then it navigates the building the way that a blind person might navigate. It has a mental map. It's going through and it's kind of feeling with the white cane to see where the things it expects are. In its case, it doesn't use a white cane. It uses a laser that goes back and forth. We designed it with a very sophisticated 3D camera sensor to see the floor in front and make sure that there's nothing in the way. Typically, hotels like that feature that they can see what the robot sees, but we've also, the cameras are here and down, so they're not like monitoring people. They're not going to take pictures of a celebrity with whoever he's in the hotel with, right? They're focused on seeing what's in front of the robot and what might be blocking it. It'll go over bumps, it'll go over elevator thresholds and carpets and that sort of thing, but if anything's bigger than about an inch, it's going to go around instead of going over.
Even control an elevator.
We've been in FedEx for over a year bringing spare parts to people who are fixing things. FedEx has a business that does that. We're also now in a hospital, and we're going into a number of hospitals this year where we're bringing either pharmaceuticals or lab equipment or lab samples, specimens, from one place to another. We've got these Europe, the Middle East, Singapore, Japan. What happens is that the robot makes you more efficient at your job. There's not one person who delivers here and who's going to be replaced by a robot. The guys who are doing deliveries in the evenings aren't here at 3 a.m. The robot's here 24/7. So the robot augments that staff in a way that's really powerful.
I've been creative my whole life. It is a little crazy, but I mean, we live here. What are we gonna do? Hole up for 6 months and not go out and have fun?
We are in Minnesota, so it's really cold outside sometimes. It can hit minus 20 degrees. And for a lot of people, that's probably a little too cold to be walking around in the elements. It's almost like a city within a city. I think that's the best way to describe it. It has shops, bars, restaurants, hotels, connect to your businesses. You can go get your nails done and your hair cut, go get a beer with friends, and then grab a coffee with coworkers. So there's 1,000 different things that you can do within the Skyway and never actually step foot outside onto the sidewalk.
Makes it convenient for everybody to get to places. I use the light rail to get downtown today, and then in the Skyway, so I've only been outside for about a block and a half. It's an easy way to do it and enjoy the cities and get to everything.
I think I step outside for about 30 seconds on any given day, if I have to, unless I choose to, which would be, going by the lakes, doing ice fishing.
I've been creative my whole life, and this is just another creative outlet for me that I do in the wintertime. It is a little crazy, but I mean, we live here. What are we gonna do? Hole up for 6 months and not go out and have fun? How can somebody get into this? Well, first of all, you've got to have the passion to want to do it. And then The unfortunate thing about ice carving is that it does require tools. For this job, you gotta have some really good quality chisels or chainsaws or something that can get through the structure of the ice. You just show up and you give it a go one year, and next year you go, oh, you know what, I learned this didn't work, so I'm not going to do that. I saw that this worked, so I am going to do that. And the beautiful thing is both by watching, observing, and then having the opportunity to just go for it. Because it's mostly men, it's a pretty rare thing to be a female ice carver. There are a few of us out there in the world, and it's something that we can definitely do right alongside the men. We certainly need the guys' help with muscling around 300 pounds, but we have equal carving abilities that they do. Because what's so beautiful about the sculpture ice is its clarity. I always see the beauty in it too. I love the way it looks when the sun goes through it.
So these are the hills we use. We call them our small hills. So this is where the youngest of our athletes train. It's one of our main tenets here at the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation is to provide training opportunities for kids and people of all ages.
Oh, definitely more people have started skiing here, and the locals have a lot more of an opportunity to take advantage of the resources, and the coaching is just mind-blowing. My son has a couple of Olympic athletes who are his coaches and that he works with regularly, and they're such a huge influence on him.
They do a wonderful job of keeping the facilities active, usable, they're all profitable. They employ a lot of people, and they're a great center for our kids to learn the winter sports discipline.
And I get to walk through here every day and check out these exhibits and kind of relive that excitement from the 2002 games. We have a lot of interactive video screens and clips from the games, so it's a great way to kind of keep that spirit alive.
With all of those changes over 17 years, we have to really take an inventory of everything we have here and see exactly what we need to add to make it as modern as possible. But the beautiful thing is that since we have kept these up for 17 years, we don't have to build new facilities.
I think the perfect word is legacy. There are many venues now, or many countries from the Olympics that are held, where after the Olympics, these buildings like this that are built are empty, and there isn't the same kind of spirit or excitement.
Growing up in the family I grew up in evolved around music. It evolved around God, and it evolved around family. Being a lyricist, I love to quote things. I don't allow certain words to be a part of my vocabulary anymore. And those are simply the words I can't. Growing up in the family I grew up in evolved around music. It evolved around God. And it evolved around family. My father used to always say, "One Winans win, all Winans win." My writing has been inspired by poetry. I was in the 4th grade, and the 4th grade teacher said to the students, I have a poem I want to read. She quoted the wind. "Why does the wind so want to be here in my little room with me, when he's all the world to blow about? Just because I keep him out, he cannot wait a moment still, but frets upon my window sill." And I sat there and said, oh, That's incredible. That's what I want to do with my songs. And there's nothing better, I think, than singing with your sibling. The journey that Cece and I have had, there's a blend there I don't think you can find anywhere else. We wrote and sung things that we went through and that we experienced. And so with me and Cece, I always believe that if it comes from the heart, it goes to the heart.
When I found you, I found love.
The musical started with a phone call with Roberta Flack. And right in the middle of the conversation, she detoured and said, Bebe, when are you gonna write that musical about you and your family? It's an American musical, it's a story, it's a film after that, and it goes on. 4 days later, I'm at a hotel in Montreal, and I open up my laptop, and it was like a faucet came on. And right then and there, I wrote the first draft of what now is Born for This. It's been an absolute joy to see my niece Deborah Joy and my nephew Juan, who are a brother and sister, playing a brother and sister who happens to be their uncle and aunt. I'm just tickled, if I can say that, to see the talent continues within the Winans family. I think everyone should travel. I think it is so educational. But beyond educational, it just causes you to care about people. I want everyone that comes to see this musical and this piece, which is reality, to know that love is so much greater than hatred. Tall and sweet and the girl from Impalima goes walking, and when she passes, she passes, goes, ah, that's the girl from Impalima. I mean, because everybody is beautiful in Rio.
You've got a beautiful countryside out here, and some people would see it as beautiful countryside, but I think, what if, from experience of active shooters, a lot of these have secondary attacks planned. So what if we get everybody out here in the parking lot because something happens inside, and then there are shooters up on the hillside? Might sound a little paranoid, but you have to think about that stuff. What if?